Welcome to the call, everyone. My name is Caroline Colas, and I'm the Senior Director of Health and Wellness at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. This is our Lunch and Learn, a series with the Whole Being Institute. And today we're going to be discussing embodying mindfulness and positive psychology in daily life with Susan Lurger. Using tools and techniques from the science and art of mindfulness and positive psychology, this session will empower you to catalyze change to achieve your ideal self in everyday life during these complex times. Experience the synergistic effects and the benefits of embodied mindfulness for yourself as we walk through this session together. We will build on a simple centering practice to help you become the leader of your own life. Mindfulness can be used to amplify the power of positive psychology and promote personal and professional well-being and individual and organizational growth and success, something we're all curious about and eager to learn about at this time. The cyclic process allows mindfulness and positive psychology techniques to continuously enhance each other. Susan Lurger is a coach, a mindful facilitator. She has been certified as a change management expert by the renowned Proce Institute and is a practicing positive psychology coach with a certificate from the Whole Being Institute. A yoga and mindfulness teacher, she has worked with clients from Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Bank of England, Barclays, Bloomberg, Google, Deutsche Bank, and many, many more. Normally in London, she's actually, are you stateside, Susan? Suzanne?
No, not right now. Not, I'm in Europe, Central Europe.
Oh, you're in Central Europe. Welcome to the call. And tell us how you first came to know the Whole Being Institute.
Yeah, very happy to do so. And thank you for having me, Caroline. Thank you, everybody else, for having me in your home and in your home offices. And welcome to mine. My history with the Whole Being Institute is a rather long one. I have come across Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar's book, Happier, as a present given to me by a friend. And following that, I started to just find out a bit more and the work he does. And I came to the Whole Being Institute in 2014. So I don't know when it was founded. I felt like I was one of the first ones potentially. Are we good with sounds? Just checking.
Yes, very good.
Good, great. So I started my journey a while ago. Then it was Linda and Megan facilitating, and I actually had a little detour. I started to study a master's degree in positive psychology, but I was slightly disappointed by just this academic focus, because what I love about the Whole Being Institute is really about an applied practice and how we can help individuals and organizations to become better and thrive. So I came back to the Whole Being Institute and have been graduating with Phoebe and Jen recently. So I'm very much back in the fold.
Wonderful. And speaking of sort of embodied psychology, you wanted to start with a mindfulness practice, didn't you?
Yeah. So let me just kind of a little bit step back from my ideas for this session today. Caroline just asked me, and I was asked when invited to facilitate, if I were to show any slides. But really, my focus is going to be to support all of you getting a real embodied experience. So I want to move away from kind of knowledge gathering in our head to really allowing us to dive deep into our bodies and help us to get an embodied mindfulness experience. I also would love to know what actually people are expecting who are on the call, what you would like to get out of. And Caroline and I have agreed, if you want to type it into your chat box quickly, Caroline will read that out to me. And so I can just make sure that we are here on course, really. But yes, Caroline, thanks for prompting me. I do want to invite you all to do the first practice of combining mindfulness and positive psychology. I'd like you all to just look around wherever you are right now in the room or space you're in, and find your eyes resting on something that really brings joy to you. And it might be your dog or your cat painting, or the view out of the window. Caroline is showing me something really colorful. And as you place your eyes on what brings you joy, just breathe in this experience of joy in your body and connect with how that feels. So, can we get some sense on what brings you joy, please? I'd love to hear. For me personally, it's the view out of the window and seeing some apple trees. It's autumn, it's a beautiful time of change, so I'm kind of really celebrating that. What about you? I see Jennifer says nature, beautiful.
Yeah. I was given a gift of a photograph of my husband and myself at our anniversary, and we're just, celebrating
Oh,
a blissful
wonderful.
moment. So that's nice.
Beautiful.
Oh, we've got some wonderful things here.
Yeah, I can see a
Nature.
wonderful, yeah, a beautiful dog. That's so nice. And then I see a wonderful bouquet of flowers. They seem made out of paper or so. That's beautiful.
Wow. And in the chat, we have fall nature hikes, looking out my window into the garden, trees and plants outside my window, photos on the wall, a picture in my temporary office that I purchased to brighten up my space, autumn leaves, my beautiful dog, view out the window, nature, lots of nature, photo of my kids
Beautiful.
on the beach, the sunshine pouring in. It's a plant I bought a few years ago that has survived my uneven watering attempts. Wow, lots of nature.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and nature is so grounding. It's wonderful that we, even in cities, have the chance to find a little oasis, maybe if it's just a plant. But let me now explain a little bit what this little practice was for you. So I invited you to become present to joy in your space. And so I want to use this opportunity to explain a little bit what mindfulness actually means. And Caroline was slightly amused by my story I just told, that John Kabat-Zinn, who we call the grandfather of mindfulness, really these days he's like, mindful this and mindful that. He's as if he can't hear it any longer, because we call everything being mindful. Mindful, from his perspective, means to cultivate attention in a particular way. And we cultivate intention on purpose, intentionally, and without judgment in the present moment. So we can use this definition to actually place attention on sensual input, like what I've asked you to do, what you're seeing. We can place attention onto our body and what we're experiencing. And so often we are very cut off of what we're experiencing on our body. We can place attention on our emotions or on thought patterns. And generally, mindfulness, according to Kabat-Zinn, also is cultivated through different avenues. One is the traditional meditation practice, which is an essential part of being mindful. But then we obviously also have opportunities in our day to be more mindful, which actually, as we can summarize it, means being more present in a non-judgmental way. And that informal practice is informed by our meditation practice in general. And the benefits of mindfulness have been really well researched over the last decades. They have been researched mainly in the context of the deficit model, or let's say diminishing, let's say, stress or depression or anxiety or the effects of pain. But there's a new kind of a field of science opening up, and this is what we're doing today, is practicing mindfulness, the quality of being present and being in our experience, combined with positive psychology. It's a professor called Iftan. He's now in the US at the Napur University, but I used to take lectures with him in London, and he studied the synergistic effects of mindfulness combined with positive psychology. So, as we know, positive psychology being the study of what makes us thrive, or like Tal Ben-Shahar says, what works, the study of well-being, the study of happiness, the study of what makes people successful. So we are now entering a very new field on where we're seeing these synergistic effects of mindfulness and positive psychology that lead to eudaimonic happiness and well-being, so more meaning, more fulfillment. Of course, all the other physical, mental, emotional benefits of mindfulness, and even beyond into professional and personal success and benefits as well. So this practice combining joy was picked because joy is a positive emotion. And that's what we study in positive psychology too. As you know from the work of Barbara Fredrickson, positive emotions have the capacity to help us broaden our perspective. And as our perspective broadens, we can build on it, become more resourceful and more creative. And I feel this is what we really need in today's time. And that's why I want to offer these practices, which we're gonna kind of practice together, and then hopefully you can take them with you and implement them into your daily life. They should be really designed to help you with the everyday experiences of today's, as we call it, VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Never before has it been that true. So that was really just a little intro, and I have a wonderful little reflection I want to share with you, which is my intention for this session. And Carol and I just spoke how intentions really support the outcome of mindfulness practice, but they also support the outcome of everything else we do in life. And I'm going to read this out to you because it's very brief and so powerful. This is what I hope this session will be for all of us. May we raise the bar for how we live our lives. May we ridiculously increase the amount of peace, play, creativity, beauty, love, and joy in everything we do. May we all sip from the wisdom of our suffering and awaken with the courage to share our stories that can heal our inner and outer world.
Gorgeous. Who wrote that?
I thought that this is a beautiful book I was given as a present again by the same friend. It's called The She Book. I'm going to refer back to it later on one more time, and I think Phoebe's going to type in the further details. So if you feel you need a little inspiration, I have it at my bedside table every night. I feel it supports a moment of joy as well as reflection. So definitely worth getting.
Suzanne, we did have one question that I think is kind of an interesting one, and maybe people feel this in their relationships. Misha was asking, what can I suggest to people who say, I can't find anything that brings me joy right now? Have you ever encountered that in one of your clients?
Yeah, and I think I can relate to that, actually. And I can relate to it in today's time in particular, because we've talked about also the effects of mindfulness on the nervous system. And some of you who might have been on the call last week have heard about the autonomic nervous system. So we've been all in an overdrive, or like Dan Goldman calls it, and an amygdala hijacking, in a state of alertness. And it's kind of tiring us out, and it's leading to the fact that many of us are actually heightened and oversensitive to negativity. And positivity kind of drops off the wayside, and that we can explain through our evolutionary psychology, because if our activation mode is on, And if we have to defend ourselves and save ourselves from whatever threat it might be, it could be the full inbox or the list of Zoom calls the whole day, we start to develop certain narrow tunnel vision. And in that tunnel vision, it's about our an instinct that is built in. Hence, what's nice and beautiful in life is kind of dropping away. So positive psychology offers a multitude of tools that can help us find joy again. One of the tools I use with my clients is, for example, an emotional journal. And it invites us to reflect back on, what inspires us or what motivates us or what brings us joy. And as you confront yourself with the reflection, maybe it might take some time, but eventually you will be able to recreate that moment and feel the effects of the positive emotions in you. As Barbara Fredrickson says, positive emotions are a whole body and mind experience. Emotions typically energy that travels through the body, emotion. So there is a number of tools, and maybe the invitation to look out for what brings you joy and really train that muscle can help over time.
Beautifully stated. Thank you. And I didn't realize, and I think it's so important what you were talking about, that amygdala hijack can really just narrow our focus so that we're only experiencing or we're more sensitive to the negative emotions. And so actually the broaden and build is just becoming aware that other emotions exist, right?
Yeah. Fredrickson speaks about the positivity ratio of 3 to 1, which actually relates to the fact that positive emotions are rather fleeting and our negative emotions are dominating in our lives, in our experiences. And the positivity ratio says that we need to experience 3 times more positive emotions for them to help us thrive and balance the negativity. So there's a wonderful saying that is, our mind is like Teflon for positivity, but like sellotape for negativity. Everything sticks whilst the positivity slips away. So in this time, COVID time, election time, for us to thrive and for us to flourish and raise our bar, cultivating positive emotions is a really essential skill we can adopt.
Hence, it sounds like you're saying prioritizing positivity is a survival skill.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's at least that which will help us to gain perspective.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'm excited to experience more of your embodied positive psychology today.
Beautiful. And I'm kind of starting to sit up tall because I have another practice for you lined up. And this practice is inspired a little bit by Strozzi Heckler, who is an expert in embodied leadership. And we all are leaders in our own life. So I'm adapting this to suit, my practice, which is that of combining mindfulness with positive psychology. And as I can see a couple of you, I'd like you to just find a place on your sofa, on your chair, where you can really become conscious of your posture. And if you feel comfortable enough, I would even invite you to close your eyes, because I'm going to talk you through a centering practice. And our center is within us, whilst our eyes are constantly, glued to a screen or to the phone or projecting forward. So I'd like you to really turn your inner gaze inwards as I talk you through this practice. So to find this comfortable position, please kind of slide your soles of the feet underneath your knees, and maybe push your buttocks just back into the chair a little bit so that you're really far back and supported. But then try to lift your spine away from the back of the chair and create space between your back and the backrest. And push up through the crown of the head as if you want to grow a little taller so that the spine becomes tall. And just lift up your shoulders towards your ears for a moment, please. All the way high up on an inhale, and exhale, drop them down and away from the ears. Please do that one more time. Inhale up and exhale, drop them down. So now slide your upper arms just slightly back so that the heart space is lifted and open. And please release the tongue away from the top palate and release your cheeks. And try to relax the outer corners of your eyes. And bring your attention towards the space behind your eyes. The optical nerve is connected with the brain. And again, through our vision and projection forward, that nerve can be easily straining and affects the brain and easily fatigues us. So rest your awareness in the space behind your eyes for a moment. This is said to help us gain perspective. And with your eyes closed, just really drop in, as we just said about mindfulness. Become aware of your body and how you're experiencing it right now. And then please just wiggle from side to side a little so you really notice your sitting bones dropping into the chair. And you feel a sense of grounding through your sitting bones, a sense of foundation. And then again, push up through the crown of the head to find your length. And as you make sure your collarbones are wide and open to the side, find your width. And notice how your breath from the inside out is pushing out into your blouse or t-shirt. That's your width. That's how you're meeting the world and people around you. That's how you open up to what's ahead of you. And now please bring your awareness to the back of the body, all the way to the skin of your back. So from the mind and the senses, which are all kind of pushing into the next thing, the future, we want to come back into our center by connecting with the back. And feel and notice, can you experience the breath in the back body? The back body pushing against the blouse or the t-shirt. And from your back, move your attention forward through your depth, through the dark space, forward towards your navel button. The navel button being our gravitational center. Then move your awareness up towards your heart space. And from the heart space, one more time towards your eyes. And as you allow your awareness to sit on your navel button, bring your thumb onto your navel and the palm of the hand, allow it to sit just underneath the navel button. And feel how your abdomen pushes out into the palm of the hand on an inhale, and retreats back and down on an exhale. You're grounding yourself. Now notice how this practice has impacted your experience of your body. Being grounded, erect but not stiff, relaxed but not slack, open and at the same time centered. Take one more deep breath and exhale. Let go of the practice and the imprint it left with you. And then maybe you want to share a little bit about this experience with us in the chat box, please. How did you experience yourself in this practice?
It was so amazing for me to feel the back of my body.
Mm-hmm.
It almost helped me settle in and relax more.
Yeah.
And I know there are
The back.
Yeah, go ahead.
The back in various traditions is kind of referred to as our past, what lies behind us. And whilst the mind has the tendency to kind of lean into the next thing and into the next thing, and our senses drive us forward, particularly the eyes as well, we are actually often detached from our center, which combines the front and the back. So bringing the awareness back helps us to center.
And I know physiologically there are a lot of nerve plexuses in the back of the body, right? So that whole system, it's almost like it gets a chance to be breathed into.
Yeah. Like we always say, energy flows where you put attention, right? So we're bringing alive a part of our body which we are not so connected with.
So in the chat, we're getting calming, relaxing, being in the moment, feeling the shift in attention to the back of the eyes felt relaxing and shifted my energy downward. First time focusing for me behind the eyes. This is Susan's website, and so Phoebe put that in the chat. Stopped my mind from wandering elsewhere. I became very focused and I really felt my body.
Beautiful.
Moving from flight, fight to rest and digest in the nervous system, bringing in the relaxation response. And Kathy said, peaceful like when you're in yoga or meditation. And Jennifer said it was very grounding.
Great. So with regards to this centering practice, it's not equipment intense. You can do this anywhere. And it is a practice. So it is a skill you can train. Just like we train how to give effective presentations or how we learn to play tennis or piano, the more we do it, the better we will become to be more centered. And the practice as such, as I call it, centering practice, helps us if we come off track, if the challenges of the days are mounting up and we're feeling off-centered. It's a wonderful way to just come back. And why do we do that? We do that so that, like the School of Mindfulness invites us to, we create a moment of attention and awareness so that we create a little space for pause and an opportunity to not react from our habitual way and the autonomic nervous system being on the fight and flight, but we actually centering ourselves to find the space for a wiser response, a better choice, better actions, and better results. That's why these practices in today's time are such a great tool and support in helping us lift ourselves up to a new level.
I love that Nancy also commented that she found a tight muscle in my neck. And I know that mindfulness isn't just about feeling calm and peaceful. It's also about being aware of both and, right? What else is going on? So sometimes we might not be aware. I know sometimes that happens to me until I kind of sit and pay attention. I'm not even aware, oh my gosh, I'm holding myself in a particular way, or I've got a little pain there. So it's not, mindfulness doesn't always mean peace and calm, does it?
The result can be peace and calm, but mindfulness actually means just holding your experience in awareness. And I like the input around the tight muscle, and that's just one of the examples. But imagine if you weren't even aware of your tight muscle, how do you think you're going to react to the demands of the day? Are you going to be at your best self, responding from a place of centeredness, a place of, composure? Most of us run through life in a rather state of being disconnected from our body. Hence, our reactivity is even more heightened by discomfort we carry with us.
So true. Thank you so much. So we can bring this centering practice to become aware of where we are in the moment.
Yeah.
And that feels very much like positive psychology too. It's like, oh, all this is going on, and now I have that pause, and now I can choose.
Right. And thank you for bridging it into positive psychology, because that's where we're going to take it now with the next practice, Caroline. We're going to combine that with your values. And many of you know potentially your VIA values, values in actions, the strength survey that is available for many of us, or for anybody for free actually. But if you don't know your strength, or what we call values in actions, just think of something that you would really stand up for, something that's really important to you. So this is what we call the values. And the VIA strength theory, I'll give you some examples for values. Could be kindness, could be fairness, could be honesty. So think about what values you hold, and maybe at this point in time it would be great if you just grab pen and paper and drop that down, because we're going to build on that at the same time. So that would be maybe a good idea.
So you want us to just write down some of our values?
Yep, that's a good start to use the values as such, please.
And I also wanted to make a note that Connie was saying she was trying during the centering practice just to keep her mind from wandering. But actually in mindfulness, we don't want to try and prevent things, right? We want to just allow what happens and then focus the attention, or can you, because that's a confusing thing for a lot of people.
Yes. So thank you for the input. You can explain mindfulness also as the discipline or weightlifting of the mind. So just as much as we are going to the gym and lift weights to build muscles, that's exactly what you do when you practice mindfulness. And your weight, so to say, is the moment of you noticing your mind wandering, because that means you're becoming present. That means, I've just done this dinner or lunch in my head, right? So that is the moment where you can bring your attention back to what the intentional focus was. In our example, it was the experience of being grounded, centered, and open. So this is a very common phenomenon, and it is actually the beginning of the practice. So you bring your mind back, and you cultivate mindfulness also with certain attributes. And one of the attributes, and this is very important in this particular example, is the attribute of kindness or inner friendliness. So one of my teachers, Jack Kornfeld, speaks about the fact that imagine the mind is like an untrained puppy. It just loves running around and gets excited by everything. But you want to start teaching your little puppy to come back and actually be here now. And how would you do that? You would obviously speak to it in a kind manner. You would kind of try to guide it back. So cultivate a language of inner friendliness to yourself, guiding yourself back to the focus of the practice. Just the way you would talk to a good friend or to your guru, just with kindness and respect.
Beautiful. And so now we're going to integrate positive psychology. I'm excited.
Yes. And this is where the synergistic effects kind of fall in place, that we have now gotten a taster of a practice, which was a centering practice. As awareness rises, we can become, present to what's going on in the body. We can become calmer, centered, and more open. And in that place, we can make a choice. And in positive psychology, particularly, we choose to place our focus on either positive emotions or on what our strengths are, or maybe even on our best self version, the projection of how we can bring our values to life. So as you have your values at hand now, that's the first start, so to say. The second aspect of this practice here to define your best self would be just to really think back of a time now, COVID times, when you felt you kind of had a little breakthrough or a little success in how you conducted yourself. And this can be in relation to your personal life, or to your professional life, or to your community, something that is, of importance to you. So connect with a micro moment, so to say, of positivity, something you noticed that went really well. Now, I want to help you to project that forward into the future and develop your best self. You've got your values at hand. Think about this area you've just focused on, either professional, personal, or in your community. And think about an area in the sense of where you would like to grow in. If I work with my coaching clients, then of course I have a very tailored context. In your case, define it for yourself. And in this particular area, imagine over the next 5 weeks, as we are facing election, challenging times, insecurity, try to think of bringing out your values in the way you live yourself, becoming your very best self version. And as you think about this projection forward into the future, 5 weeks from now, think about what you would be doing differently. And then think about how that would make you feel. So anchor it in your emotional part of your brain. And then in addition, maybe you can find an image or a song or a color that really helps to represent you being your best self in the context of your choice. See how you can bring your values into it, how they can help you get there. So I would suggest to just use a couple of minutes here. I know Caroline is crafting, I can see her on her posture. So if you want to spend a couple of minutes on this and then come back to the room, we will facilitate the next grounding practice where we're using you use your own best self image combined with the centering practice we've just gone through.
And Phoebe's wisely putting the steps in the chat so that everyone can reference them. And you know how to save the chat, everyone. I'm just going to remind you, you can go to the 3 buttons in the chat, and then you can press save, and you will get the whole chat. It'll be downloaded to your device. I'm really curious how to have an image or a song or a color for my action that I've chosen.
It might represent more, not just your actions, Caroline, but how you see yourself as your best self.
Ah, okay, that's helpful.
What would that image be? So it's not just your action that will get you there.
Beautiful. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Suzanne?
How is the group doing with their best self vision? Are we somewhat ready to roll, or we need a bit more time?
Well, just show us everybody by giving us a thumbs up or need more time. Let's see. Hang on one second. Let me just change my view. Are you good? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. Looks like
Great.
Everybody's okay. They're ready to move on.
Okay, wonderful. Great. So we're going to do this centering practice again, and that's on purpose because I want you to be familiar with it. After today's session, I'd like you to be able to just connect with that wherever you go. So we're going to do exactly the same. Please find this particular seat where your feet are under your knees and your soles are maybe even spread wide, so you can lift your toes up for a moment and spread them wide and then drop them back down. And you want to push your buttocks back into the chair again to feel them nicely grounded, but not necessarily supported by the back of the chair. So the back of the body lifts off and away from the back of the chair. And you're trying to really extend up through the crown of the head. The practice of lifting your shoulders up to the ears on an inhale and down and away from the ears helps us to release tension in the neck and shoulders. So do that on an inhale, shoulders up to the ears and down and away from the ears. Just glide your upper arms just slightly back as you have your palms resting on your lap, so that your heart space is lifted and the chest is open. And please release the tongue away from the top palate. Release your cheeks, the outer corners of your eyes. And once again, bring the attention towards the back of your eyes and relax there. Now, please bring your thumb back onto your navel button and the palm of the hand just resting right underneath there. And as you breathe in and out, feel the abdomen extending out into the palm of the hand and retreating back and down on an exhale. Now the navel button being our gravitational center is also the center for skillful action. So bring your values to mind as you breathe in and out, focusing on your navel button, holding your awareness there. Now please bring your awareness to your heart space. The heart space being the space of grounded compassion. Please bring to mind on how your best self would make you feel. Breathe in and out through your heart space as you're holding the idea of your best self and how it would make you feel in your awareness. And then please bring your awareness back to your eye center. The center for pragmatic wisdom. So bring to your awareness as you rest your attention there. How would you act differently as you bring your best self forward? Now, wherever you felt most sensation in your body, settle your attention there one more time. The navel button, heart center, or the eye center. And bring to your awareness the image you've chosen representing your best self. Then please, to finish this practice, take a full and deep inhale. And exhale, maybe an exhale through the mouth. Allow your mouth to open wide. Again, a deep inhale and a final exhale. And just very slowly open your eyes. And when your gaze is in focus, come back into the room. Now, if you wish, you can share a little bit or ask questions about the practice.
I found it interesting that the image that came to me of my best self has been one that I've had for a long time.
Oh, wonderful.
That I've.
What does it represent for you, Caroline?
It really does represent what we were talking about earlier about what enlightenment is, or some components of it, which would be like happiness, equanimity, and freedom. It's just a very freeing image, and I'm
Nice.
and I'm very rested because my action was going to be, how do I sleep more? I was sleeping more, and so I thought, oh, that's an interesting. What that is in my best self is more rested.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then you feel freer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have more access to everything. So it's an interesting thing that a wish to go to bed earlier could allow me to see my best self, give me access. It sort of reminds me of what they say in yoga. It's like where you enter the matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get to center from all directions, right? And let's just see what we're getting in. Oh, the bright yellow sun shining from Elaine. Is the practice mostly just doing meditation? Jay Kramer was asking.
Well, meditation is the tool through which we become more mindful. The practice of embodying mindfulness and positive psychology has really two dimensions. And we used one positive psychology tool here now. We used joy and positive emotion earlier. This one was the best self. And developing one's personal vision for the future is really something that creates a sense of hope and a sense of efficacy in us, in the sense of that's something we can aspire to and achieve as we define the vision for ourselves. So I've cut it slightly short so that we are able to practice both of them together. But what essentially we did here is, again, a grounding practice combined with positive emotions, facilitated through the vision of your best self, hope in this particular, and helping us to define what different actions we can take in future so that we can elevate ourselves from habitual actions into more wiser action, helping us to raise the bar.
It reminds me of what we were talking about earlier, which is that there is the integration of positive psychology into mindfulness does involve like the goal or the future thinking or becoming, right?
Yeah,
There is a why, there's a purpose, it's not just observing and being mindful, it's actually taking it into action. Am
yeah.
I onto something there?
Well, I think you're referring to is that what we're doing here really is, as Kabat-Zinn pointed out, what is really driving the outcome of any practice is your intention. And you might like to see that actually I personally have an intention for each day. I have an intention for critical meetings. So, you can integrate that into everyday life. Intentions shape the outcome. It's really what you're setting yourselves out to do. And then you let go of a desired outcome, but you're acting on your intention in that way. And what we're doing by combining mindfulness with positive psychology, we're bringing really the intention of cultivating future mindedness, positive emotions into our practice so that actually, like positive psychology helps us, we can thrive and go beyond our current sense of being okay or even well-being. Thriving is even more than that.
Right. Flourishing, we were talking about how flourishing exceeds the removal of something difficult, right? And it's attained by involving the positive variables. This really feels like a manifesting practice to me in some ways as well.
Yeah, and it's a visualization practice somewhat also, right? So it solidifies the best self version, which is really a tool we use in positive psychology coaching. And at the same time, it solidifies your meditation practice. So we are back to the synergistic effects.
We had some questions in the chat. Vance wanted to know, the image of one's best self, is it framed by the values alone or are other areas introduced?
Yeah, the vision of the best self is something that can be a very elaborate kind of setup to help you define it. Normally, you establish a better understanding of your client's strength, which is what we did here with the values. Also aspects on how they are achieving well-being, success, and sustainability in their life. And you weave it into your best self vision to make it all comprehensive. But in this setup, where the dialogue between the audience and myself is limited, I could only work with certain parameters.
And then Phoebe mentioned that this also can be a written exercise. Research suggests 4 days in a row or for 2 weeks to
Yes.
write this out.
Yes.
Then, yeah.
So that's the scientific evidence on the benefits of best self versions, cultivating whole self-efficacy and helping us to achieve a goal. If we have a goal, we know people who have a goal, Lubomirsky speaks about it, have experienced more a sense of well-being and happiness. So it's about the future directedness of our actions again that helps us to expand from the current place we're at into something better.
And Dr. Sherry Kelly was saying, really like how you tied in the practice of, into this practice of using the strengths. So to go at, before we did the the meditation to go and sort of say, okay, let me access the values or my strengths and then incorporate them as well.
Great. But I wanted to come back to maybe the question that was, is this all about meditation? And it's actually not, because really this is now the takeaway for you. This is a tool which we call a practice and an exercise which you can cultivate over time. Again, I've been asked if I'm going to hand out any written script. My invitation is to listen to the recording, which I know will be made available to you end of the week. And as you listen, you will hear new dimensions. And I'd like you to practice again with the recording so that you're developing your skill. And my invitation to you to integrate that into your life is really, if you are facing a particular challenge in the area you've chosen, you want to grow, ground yourself, center yourself, and open yourself up through the posture in the body, and bring your best self vision to mind. And as you bring your best self vision to mind, define on how you would like to act going forward. So you placing your choice on always this aspiration of your best self. So you move away from your habitual reaction into that of a much more wiser, conscious, holistic way of moving beyond your current challenge.
This really amplifies what is strong versus what is wrong, or just sitting with it is what it is, right? And going beyond that and saying, okay, wait a second, I'm going to use mindfulness and these practices to aspire to
Yes.
my best self.
Yes, and help me also solidify, so to say, solidify my strength as I'm embodying them, so I can really act from that place as I'm holding them deep in my center, you know, that each time a response is asked, I can really connect with my personal strengths, is kindness, for example, so that I can respond in a kind manner. So you call yourself back to the place in which you are actually at your best, and you act from there.
It sort of reminds me of what I'm going to call the billboard effect. You know, it's like we all know that there is a restaurant that's coming up, but when there's a billboard, it's like, oh, there's a reminder. And right, the intention or setting up the, what are my strengths? Can I live into my best self? Can I live into my best future self? It's like it reminds me of my best self, right? And I love that you said, and I hope you can talk a teeny bit more as we close, how you use intention, even setting it up for an intention for an important meeting or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So the questions I ask myself before I go into a Zoom meeting or any other critical meeting is, what is my intentions? What would I like my clients to know? And how would I like to feel? And what would I like them to feel? So I really kind of go through quite a all comprehensive checklist so that I can make sure that, again, I bring my best self forward.
Beautiful. And this is the way in which you incorporate it, not just for self, but in your organizational work as well, I'm assuming.
And that's how I then bring the practices into an organizational lives. Again, looking at how can we really make that part of our life, not something else we have to do, but really that's how the way we do our business.
And then that is sort of living into our authentic self, isn't it? Which is another component of positive psychology.
Yeah, and living into our authentic self, by, connecting with our strength. So that's where, we are most successful, really. That's when we are most effective as leaders, when we use our strength and our authentic self. And at the same time, our best self, our aspirational side.
Thank you so much. This has just been such an evocative conversation, and I so appreciate you spending time with us, not only sharing from your knowledge, but from your embodied knowledge, and
Oh,
giving
thank
us a
you.
practice that we can listen to the recording again. And as I know, there is going
Yeah.
to be a lot of challenges coming up with the election, as you said, and just life in general, right? So this is going to be very helpful.
Great. I'd like to send us all off from yesterday evening for you into the rest of the day with just referencing this wonderful book again, because it is just bringing it so nicely to a close. And if you give me another couple of minutes, Caroline, I'm going to just read out. It's the back side of her book. May you lean into the changes and cycles you are being called toward. May you find the courage to trust, love, and accept yourself, and shout yes to the burn of transformation. This is where you enter. This is where you stop resisting. This is where you shout out to the cracks of where you've fallen into. This is where the waiting ends and the new you is born. There's no going back. May you lean in. May you lean in.
Wow, thank you so much. And
Thank
just
you
so you
very
know,
much.
in the chat is just exploding with gratitude for you and for your wisdom. You're amazing, for sharing a part of yourself, for being so calming and inspirational, for powerful and inspirational learning and relearning. Thank you for a wonderful session. And don't forget, everybody, to come next week. We've got a lot going on. Let's see, we've got Trish Walden, and who else do we have coming? I know, Phoebe, if you're on the call, you can let us know. Yes, the book information is in the chat already. It is She, right? Suzanne, you want
The
to
She
say?
Book.
The She Book.
It's called The She Book, and it's by Tanya Markul, Markul.
Well, our call has come to an end, and it's hard to say goodbye. Everyone, may you have a
Thank you so
peaceful
much.
and restful afternoon. Take care. Thank you again, Suzanne, and have a good
Caroline.
evening. Take care.
Thank you.